entertained? Are you not entertained?
No!
Yes, a bit.
So Gladiator II is the sequel to the 2000 surprise hit Gladiator. 16 years after the death of Marcus Aurelius, twin emperors Geta and Caracalla are running the Roman Empire into the ground, with their policy essentially being more and more military expansions as unrest in the Roman population increases. General Acacius leads his troops on Numidia, where Lucius Verus Aurelius, the late emperor's grandson, lives in hiding with his wife, setting into motion a sequence of events that will decide the very fate of Rome. Howdy, I'm the guy with no name. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Real quick, if you didn't know, I'm trying to get to 250 subscribers as quickly as I can, so any support you can throw my way would be much appreciated. Gladiator II was directed by Ridley Scott and stars Paul Mescal as Lucius Verus Aurelius, grandson of Marcus Aurelius and son of Lucilla, Denzel Washington as Macrinus, a gladiator master quite skilled in the realm of politics with unknown intentions, Pedro Pascal as General Acacius, Joseph Quinn as Emperor Geta, Fred Hetchinger as Emperor Caracalla, and Connie Nielsen reprising her role as Lucilla Verus Aurelius. Growing up, at least around where I was, whenever we would talk about like greatest war movies of all time, specifically, you know, the Sword and Sandals ones, there would inevitably be two major camps. So you'd either be on Team Braveheart or Team Gladiator, and of course you couldn't pick both, even though in reality I did like both. So I definitely went with Team Gladiator pretty easily. I do consider Gladiator to be, if it's not a masterpiece, it's almost a masterpiece. And so when they announced that they were finally doing a sequel 24 years later, let's just say that those were big sandals to fill. The million-dollar question, does Gladiator II measure up to the original? Well, I would say it resoundingly does not. For starters, Maximus to me is one of the great movie characters ever put to screen. He's got a lot of iconic lines, great action, played brilliantly by Russell Crowe. Meanwhile, Paul Mescal, he does a serviceable job as Lucius, but I just think that he wasn't given a lot to do, and despite his, Lucius's rich background, there's kind of not a lot to him, in my opinion, and it kind of felt like he ran around giving speeches a lot. I'm exaggerating, but Maximus gave speeches too. They just felt more natural. And then also, maybe you might view this as a nitpick, but I understood why Maximus was the de facto leader of the gladiators. He was great at fighting, he was a former general and very successful at that, while Lucius, also good at fighting, but I didn't feel like he exactly earned being able to shout orders at the men, and I didn't know, there were certain things he knew that I wasn't sure how he knew. Like, how did he know naval warfare strategy? Not sure. I found the story to be a bit too similar to the first one. It just had too many similar story beats. I didn't mind that the themes were the same, like that, the idea of Rome, how fragile it is, was it attained and it just deteriorated over time, or was it never attained? Is it unattainable, just an imaginary thing, an idealistic thing? Stuff like that was interesting. It just felt like the second one kind of hit you over the head more with it versus the first one being a bit more subtle. The score also was pretty forgettable until it went into the same themes and the same tunes that were from the original score, and every time it did that, I loved that. I liked the continuity. That score is one of the best music scores ever for movies ever written. The action was good. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was great, but it was good. I liked it a lot. I think one of the problems was the overuse of CGI, which in the first one they used lots of practical effects, and they used CGI sparingly. I feel like they completely reversed this, and now they used practical effects sparingly, and it was noticeable. And then also the cinematography was vastly inferior, in my opinion, to the original. For instance, let me give you just an example. When we first visit Rome in the original, there's like a grand sweeping shot of the city, and you kind of get a sense of the scope of that city. And then there's a shot of Commodus coming in on a chariot, and you see him slowly approaching, and people are celebrating, getting him coming to the palace. And so, like, it really is a great establishing shot. Meanwhile, first time we visit Rome in the movie, if I'm not mistaken, it's literally just immediately a shot of the characters, one of the characters strolling into the palace, and you see the Colosseum in the background. I don't even remember there being an establishing shot. There certainly wasn't any sweeping shots like in the first one. And yeah, I just found the cinematography to be serviceable, whereas in the first one it had a personality, and it was actually really grand in scope, and it made Rome seem very small. One thing I will say that is very high praise is that the twin emperors are worthy successors to that of Commodus as the antagonists. I thought they were characters you love to hate, and I also thought they did a good job. They weren't like mustache twirling characters. You could tell that they were just very narcissistic and completely disconnected from the needs of anyone else, and they only cared about themselves and their power. So they were great. All that said, and I get it was a lot of negativity, does that make this movie a bad movie? No. Did I hate the movie? No. In fact, I would go so far as to say it is one of the best sword and sandals movies that we've gotten since Gladiator, but then again, that's not a very high bar. I'm looking at you, the eagle. But, and I know I said too that the story was too similar, but when you get down to it, there are plenty of differences still, and I'll admit it wasn't predictable at times. There were quite a few surprises, actually. Denzel Washington is probably the best part of this movie. You can tell that he's really having a good time, and he's just eating it all up. He steals plenty of scenes that he's in. Pedro Pascal was also a welcome addition, and I'm not gonna lie, it was nice seeing Connie Nielsen and Derek Jacobi back in their roles. Ultimately though, it's not a terrible movie or anything. It just kind of puts you in this precarious position where, on the one hand, you need to have seen the first one to fully understand and appreciate certain aspects of the movie, but on the other hand, if you've seen the first, you're undoubtedly going to be comparing it the whole time and probably being disappointed and not appreciating other aspects of the movie. There are exceptions though, like for instance my wife, she saw the new one with me, and she likes the original and ended up liking the second a lot more than me. But for me, I don't think I'm happy that they made this movie, and I think I prefer that they had just left Gladiator alone, and I can't give it a higher ranking than 3.5 out of 5 stars. But I'm actually really curious, more than most things that I've reviewed, on what you guys think in the comments. I really want to know, I mean, do you agree with me, or am I way off? Do you think I'm being too harsh or not harsh enough? Is 3.5 too high? I don't know. Or are you a psycho and you've seen both and don't like either? Whatever it is, please let me know. I really want to talk about how you guys felt, because, you know, it's subjective at the end of the day. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, like I said, like and subscribe, and check out my other content, like my review of Penguin Season 1 that I got up. Alright, this is the guy with no name, signing off.